I really think one of the most confusing and emotionally draining experiences is trying to figure out if you should stay or leave the relationship that you are in. And I say this because I myself, in the past, have spent months and months and months of my life trying to figure out this question, do I stay or do I leave? And it is just such a emotionally draining and confusing experience to go through. So if you are in that same space at the moment, then this video today is for you. Let's get real about how to know when it's time to break up. And this is the no bullshit advice that I wish someone would have given me sooner. As always, if you enjoy my content, feel free to support it in some ways, such as liking, commenting, or subscribing. Your support is so appreciated. And you can also download my free 12-minute anxiety release guided meditation in the link below. Sign number 1, when you envision a future, it's with a version of them that doesn't exist. If you're in a relationship with someone, or maybe even worse, a situationship with someone, but whatever the dynamic is, I'm guessing at some point there have either been a few moments or maybe even a lot of moments, probably a lot of moments, where you have asked yourself this question: what would my future with this person look like? Like, if I do stay, what is my life going to look like in 5, 10, 20, 30 years beyond just this current moment? Now, the question you need to be brutally honest about with yourself is, when you envision that potential future with this person where you are actually happy, the images you see in your mind when you go there, are they based around a version of them that doesn't even exist? So do you see yourself being happy with this person long term as they simply grow alongside you? Or does you being happy long term require for them to become a completely different person? For the longest time, I used to believe that if I can simply envision a potential future with someone, then that is a sign that I'm in the right relationship. Because if I can envision that future, then that must mean it's a real possibility, right? But then when I reflect upon past relationships where I was with someone who was clearly not right for me, I was also always envisioning that potential future with that person. But the problem was, those visions and imaginations that I had in my mind were always based on hope that things would change, hope that things would get better, hope that the relationship would hopefully magically transform into what I felt I had been promised it would become, but that was never actually real. The one thing that I've learned through all of that chaos is that wanting a relationship to work and a relationship actually having the potential to work out are two completely different things. And so if your happy future that you see with this person is built on the hope that they will fundamentally change, then that is not a solid foundation to build on. It means that you are holding on because you want it to work really badly, but on some level you know that it won't, not with the person they are right now. And that's why your mind can only envision that happy future with a version of them that doesn't even exist. Sign number 2, you can't forgive them for past mistakes. Okay, this in my eyes is a big one. We have to talk about it. If you are constantly feeling anger or resentment or hurt over past things that have happened in your relationship and you are no longer able to let those things go. For a long time in my life, I somehow prided myself on being someone who was able to forgive people's mistakes easily because I had learned what it meant to have to do that. So I was able to do it, and I started to see it as a strength because it had become my way to keep relationships intact. So now, because I was stuck in such a warped idea of forgiveness, when I started to get to a point in relationships where I felt like I was no longer able to let go of past mistakes. So the incidences that had happened where I felt I had been caused pain, I was no longer able to let them go. I would bring them up in conversations all the time, and I would replay them in my mind all the time, and I would feel anger about them. When that started to happen, my first instinct was always to blame myself first and to think, have I become an angry and resentful person? I mean, if I cannot let go of the mistakes of someone who I actually love and care for and want to be with, especially if I've been able to do that for so long and now I can no longer do it, then that must mean the problem is me. I am not forgiving enough. The truth is though, and again, that's one of those many things that I wish someone would have told me sooner. The idea of forgiveness is a beautiful one, but it is not to be mistaken with the idea of excusing bad behavior or pretending that everything's okay when it's not. And so maybe when you have gotten to a point in your relationship where you are no longer able to forgive your partner's mistakes, maybe it's not because you are bad at forgiving, but because your heart is telling you that there is something that is still unresolved. And maybe that is valid and okay and something you should listen to. True forgiveness always requires two things: genuine accountability from the other person and a safe space for you to heal. So to truly move past forgiveness in a relationship after pain has been caused and to come out on the other side, it takes both people to put in the work. Sure, you need to let go and move on, but the other person also needs to show up consistently and prove that they've changed. But if it's just you continuously saying, it's okay, I'm okay, let's move on, I'm fine, then that becomes a way for you to gaslight yourself into staying in a situation that's actually hurting you, and that's going to blow up eventually. So if you seem to not be able to let go of past mistakes and past situations and past hurt in your relationship, you have to eventually ask yourself, am I unable to let go because I'm holding on to something unnecessarily, and that is for me to figure out? Or are you unable to let go and move on because your intuition is warning you that this behavior will continue in the future? Are you unable to let go and forgive because you haven't been given the safety and the reassurance and the space and the apology that you need to truly move on and forgive in a healthy way? And maybe that's valid and something you have to and should listen to. Number 3, your body is telling you what your mind won't admit. Being in a situationship or relationship that's actually not good for you and not serving you is such an interesting experience, because if your brain, for whatever reason, refuses to see the situation for what it is, it will go to wild lengths to protect that illusion. Like sometimes when I think back to my experiences with this, the creativity and imagination that my brain would come up with to excuse bad behavior and tell myself it's not that bad and tell myself it's actually what I want is insanity, like actually insanity. I feel sometimes our brain, especially when it's trying to protect us from pain, just like stops working. So what I've learned is in those moments, you cannot always trust your mind and your thoughts, because the mind is great at minimizing and at excusing and at rationalizing, especially, as I said, when it's trying to protect us from emotional pain. But the one thing you can always trust is your body. Every time I was in a situation where I was struggling with this question, do I stay or do I leave? And I wouldn't take the choice that I was actually supposed to take in that moment, which was leave, my body would always react in some way. Either I would lose weight, or I would gain weight, or I would be unable to eat, or my skin or my hair or my gut. It was always, my body would always express itself in some way, even if I kept trying to find ways to rationalize that and tell myself, oh, it's just because I'm stressed about work. It's just because I'm stressed about something else. But it was clearly always my body trying to communicate with me. When you're in a relationship that's truly good for you and healthy, your body feels calm and safe and supported, and you feel lighter, and you're not constantly in a state of fight or flight. And so if you are having physical symptoms, even if your mind doesn't want to look at it, whether that is fatigue, gut issues, not being able to sleep, anxiety, whatever it is, it's time to look at that and to ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me, which my mind refuses to look at? All right, everyone, that is all I wanted to share for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm so looking forward to connecting with you in my next video.